Hey, how's everybody doing? This is Adrian, your instructor for FYS 101, and I'm going to jump into a quick presentation here. I always like to, in this first module, like the introductory module, have the course kind of laid out and describe a few things about the course. Let's jump right in. If we go ahead and jump into this, and I try to put this on every one of my presentations so it's easily seen. If you ever have any questions, email me. That's the way to go. It's the best way to go. For today, I'm going to talk a little bit about structure, kind of how the course is laid out, just going to briefly touch on syllabi, which you've already done in another presentation, and then just a few other odds and ends, more administrative type stuff. So in the other presentation where we spoke about the syllabus, the points, the assignments, when you look at this, this is a breakout of each one and their point value and a little pie chart in terms of how much they're worth. You know, strategy-wise, you look at this and you go, okay, my AOIs are worth 100 points. That's 25% of my point total. Well, it's pretty obvious you got to stay on top of these, right? And you look at this and you go, all right, what's important and what isn't? I hate to say it, but sometimes in a college class, you have to prioritize in terms of how you can rake in your most points and get the most points. And the syllabus, as I mentioned, you know, it's an agreement between us in terms of you do this, you'll get a grade. You do the assignments, you'll get this grade. You have an agreement with myself and also an agreement with the university. So kind of realize that document outlines that agreement. Now, the big thing is it's kind of like the strategy and the plan on how to get to the end game, which is a good grade in this course. And frankly, I am a pretty liberal grader when it comes to this course, but if you don't do the work, I hate to say it, I've had to fail people in this course. So, you know, caveat emptor, right? Buyer beware. Get your work done and you'll get the grade. And I have to sometimes describe this to students in terms of, you know, when you look at the class itself and what we're trying to accomplish, we're really trying to get you plugged into the day-to-day rigors of college, how to survive in the college environment. A little different, you're not staying in a dorm and going to and from class or actually zooming in now to class. You're coming from home. You might have a job outside of here. Perhaps you have children as well of your own. You're trying to homeschool. Oh my goodness, I can't even imagine. And so, you know, you're trying to look at how to survive in college, but also thrive in college. And that's really what this course is about. And part of that is exposing you to different support services on campus and also exposing you to different areas, functional areas within the campus itself. You get done with this course, you should be able to figure out how to navigate through things like, and I'm sure some of you already have this, but Blackboard, or where do you go to get certain help for certain things, whether it's an English paper, a math paper, where do you go for academic planning or career advisement, and also to be able to start to put together the ability to have, oh gosh, you know, not cognitive thought, but more of like a structured format and kind of like executive level thinking that you need in college. You know, intellectual curiosity is huge in the college environment, and I can't stress that enough. You need to be able to have that. But also, in the context of doing that, the assignments are set up so you're actually working on things like your development plan or your academic and career goals while writing college level papers for this course. So, you know, don't discount what we're doing because it's kind of like the blocking and tackling, if you will, the nuts and bolts that allow you to be able to be more successful in college when you get to a Purdue or Northwestern or, I don't know, Iowa State or wherever you're going to end up going. With the syllabus, we talked a little bit about that. We talked about the roadmap. You know, we talked about the points breakdown in the previous syllabus presentation. And really, a way to get to the academic promised land is 360 points or better. And believe me, you can get that in this class. It's very achievable if you just do the work and do it in a manner that's at a college level. And so I always give this explanation to my classes, whether it's this class or I teach in the kinesiology department. I teach exercise science classes and the study of the human body and how it moves, et cetera. That's where my functional area. And I have to often describe this to students, like you look at what points actually are in a class. You know, it's kind of like your nickels, dimes, and quarters that you have to rake up towards your end grade. And when you transfer out of Harper and you go to UIC or your U of I or Northwestern, you have two different types of payment to get into that place. One of which is your tuition. You got to pay to take the classes. That's part of it. But the other part of it is you have this other kind of currency, if you will, that is your grade. The better the grade, the better the GPA, the more likely you are to get in. And many times, the better the grade comes with scholarship opportunities, which has a direct economic value. So I urge you to really view like your assignments as an ability to kind of rake up nickels, dimes, and quarters, even pennies towards this kind of like academic equity for your college education. It's not just paying for the school, but it's also the points that you achieve in a class, however small. And look, every term, I have at least one student where the cutoff is 90% and they have 90.01% or whatever it is, because they did one extra question on a homework assignment instead of saying, I'm done, okay? They got that extra point and it was just enough to get them to the A train. And I can't stress that enough. This is crucial in terms of a much bigger picture. You have to be able to look at it with a smaller prism, a smaller view, and look at ways that you can go ahead and rake up these nickels, dimes, and quarters that will add up to give you the A in this class or your other classes, which will then give you a better GPA, scholarship opportunities, the opportunity to get into the school you really want, not the one that you can maybe just get into. So these are very real conversations in terms of grades. So I urge you to kind of just think in terms of, I'm going to rake these things up. Now, I develop all my classes like this, where I have multiple assignments, and I do that from different functional areas within the class itself. And I do that specifically to give students the opportunity to acquire more points throughout the term. So it's not like an all or nothing midterm exam or an all or nothing final exam that's cumulative. You have the opportunity to kind of strategically go about and pick up where you're going to rake in your points to get to that 360 points or better in this class, for example, to get an A. So I think it's important for you to really understand that when you look at a strategic aspect, especially for this class, you can practice it here and use it for your other classes. But if you have a physics class and there's a ton of different labs and you got 10 points a lab and that's like 25% of your grade, well, it makes sense. You can just sit down and hammer out those labs and have 25% of the points for your class done like that. So again, I urge you to really kind of think of this in terms of grade strategy and how you can accumulate more of your points that add up towards your educational equity. So, how is this course related to maybe like your English 101 professor, right? So how is English 101 even related to FYS 101? Or more accurately, how is your English professor and English 101 directly related and comparable to me, where I teach kinesiology, and I teach kinesiology 100, 101, 211, 214, 231, 236, 230, all those classes. How are they similar? And that's a dramatic pause there for let you think for a second. But really, when you look at like colleges and universities, it's a pocket of this like intellectual capital where you have people who are on campus who are instructors who really dig the content that they're teaching. Like, I really like kinesiology. I like working out. I like fitness. I like sports and competition in that regard. And so to that end, it's like right in my wheelhouse, that kinesthetic pillar. Meanwhile, you have an English professor who, he might be somebody who does fitness and works out and is a CrossFit kind of guy, whatever he does, but he really enjoys the English language, reading, literature, etc. It's no different. We have the same passion for what we enjoy. It just happens to be what we enjoy is or are different from one another. And I remember Dr. Burroughs. He was my English 102 professor in undergrad, and he was an individual who took a sabbatical to literally go to England. And he went to England to go and follow some of the great authors that he really enjoyed, and not follow them because they had long since passed away, but he wanted to go to the pubs where they drank their beer, the rock they sat on when they wrote their literature, the libraries they went to do their research in Oxford or wherever it was. And so he was really into that, and he was very passionate about that. And I'm telling you, don't discount that as a student, because if your professor is standing in front of you in a class and saying, I really like this about this topic, I really think this is important, and I think you should learn it, you got to understand they're doing that with a purpose. They're giving you the blueprint on how to be successful in their class. They're not saying, I love this, I'm going to punish you for it, I'm going to beat the crap out of you in this class because I love this topic so much. Instead, they want you to share in it and enjoy it. They understand, and I understand, perhaps you're not going to enjoy it as much as I might enjoy kinesiology or fitness or working out, as Dr. Burroughs enjoys following some of the great literary people of his time to England. So to that end, you look at that and you go, hey, when I'm in English 101, I got to understand if this professor really is passionate about that subject matter. Math, same thing, very passionate about that subject matter. And quite frankly, they're probably really good at that subject matter. And, you know, they're not only passionate about it, but they're also kind of like freaky smart, you know. Like everybody on this campus, everybody, you know, we all have our functional area where we're really smart at what we do. And you got to understand that, you know, to that end, if we're able to skeletonize down what we think is important, and this is a takeaway for my class as well as any of the other classes you're going to have on campus, if it's important enough to put on a syllabus, if it's important enough to make it into a 17-week course, 16 perhaps with Thanksgiving, that instructor is saying this is important enough for you to learn it. And so as a result, you have to be able to take whatever it is in and be able to process it and put it back out for that professor. So don't discount that at all, because that is huge to understanding how to be successful in college. Hear what your professors have to say and be able to say it back to them. And it may require a little bit of conversation with them, right? It might require a little bit of like, okay, what about this? What about this? How about this? To get a simplification. And I can tell you, the thing about the freaky smart side is sometimes your instructors can only go so far. I've been to seminars where I've seen professors in chemistry unable to explain at like a second grade level how dish detergent works, because they're so used to talking in terms of like college level chemistry, they couldn't do it. You know, it's like their brain checked out on them. So you might, in some regards, when you address your professors, ask for greater simplification, not so much clarification on a topic. Ask them to help you simplify it. And really, that's kind of the key part when you start talking about the distance between where you are as maybe a first-year student and somebody who's completed their doctorate and they've had multiple years of teaching and tons of experience. There's a bit of a divide between those two. And as an instructor to a student, I can tell you sometimes instructors just kind of lose it in the wiring. They have to have you say to them, no. Just simplify it for me a little bit further if you could. And believe me, they might look and kind of rattle their head a little bit, but they'll get it and they'll be able to explain it to you. So to that end, guys, I think that's plenty for now. If I do any kind of presentation, I only go max 15 minutes. I'm not going to belabor you with a 45-minute presentation or 50-minute like we're in a classroom. I just don't think we're in a place or a space for that. I think we can get plenty done in the 15-minute and under time frame. So with that, get your homework done. Take care of the Focus 2 as well as the beginning course assignment. I'm kind of looking down at my sheet here to make sure I have that stuff all done. And then next week you'll have two assignments. One will be area of interest and then post and reply. All right, guys, have a great week. Enjoy the rest of the week of school, and I'll talk with you next week. Bye.